Let the record reflect, we've reconvened with all members present. For those who are able, I invite you to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Please be seated. Welcome, everyone. Tonight, I've got the privilege of presiding over the council meeting as Mayor Conley attends the annual gala in his role as chair of the League of Conservation Voters Education Fund. So good luck to Mayor Conley as he conducts that business. The employees of the month for the month of June are Patrolman Chris Burns, Patrolman Austin Nash, and Corporal Nelson Jimenez from the police department. These three officers were extremely professional and patient while recently helping a resident who was experiencing a mental health crisis. So thank you to those officers from Madison Police Department. Over the past few weeks, we've had some great things going on in Madison that the mayor has attended and some of the other council members as well. On Friday, May 31st, the mayor presented a proclamation to Estelle Stelkison in honor of her 100th birthday. During the festivities, she showed more energy than those half her age in the room, including Mayor Conley, I think. On Saturday, June 1st, we celebrated National Trails Day by cutting the ribbon on the first phase of the Memorial Park Trails. These trails were made possible through our Open Space Fund, along with 2 grants from Morris County totaling more than $365,000. This includes funds for the final phase, which is currently underway, and there was a great turnout for the ribbon cutting and a beautiful walk in the woods on that gorgeous day. Joining us from Morris County was Commissioner Shaw. I also want to thank Councilwoman Melissa Hanahan for organizing the event, down to the bubbles for the children at the event, and we encourage everyone to check out those trails as the nice weather is among us. A reminder that for the month of June, we will only be meeting this one time this month, so our next council meeting will be on Monday, July 8th, following the holiday weekend. And finally tonight, I want to address an incident that occurred over the weekend. Each year since 2019, the year that marked the 50th anniversary of the Stonewall riots in New York City, Madison has flown pride flags in downtown and proclaimed June as LGBTQ Pride Plus Month. And each year, some ask why these actions are necessary. In the early morning of Sunday, we saw an act of vandalism downtown where someone ripped down pride flags from around the Millennium Clock and stuffed them in the trash bins along Waverly Place. This act was certainly disturbing and upsetting for many in the Madison community, whether or not they identify as LGBTQ. But what we do know is that these actions do not represent the Rose City community at large. It does, in fact, however, reinforce why celebrating our diversity and all members of our community is as important than it's ever been. So tonight, I can't think of a more fitting time to be able to share the proclamation celebrating LGBTQ plus Pride Month and Juneteenth in Madison, which we will do shortly. I'd like to thank Chief Misha and the officers of the Madison Police Department who quickly responded to the incident, including Corporal Aquino and one of our newest officers, TJ Nieder. The speed and professionalism by which the Madison Police Department handled this incident and effected an arrest should not go unnoticed. Also thanks to our DPW personnel who responded first thing this morning to make sure the recovered flags were flying again as soon as possible. And finally tonight, thanks to Reverend Ironsides of Grace Episcopal Church, who in the face of this incident pulled together a moment of solidarity tonight at downtown, and there were a number of council members who were able to join, where members of the community came together and sang some songs and just came together as a community. So thanks to everyone. Obviously not something we had planned on having to do tonight, but when something occurs in Madison, the community comes together, and that should be has recognized, or more so than the incident itself. So with that, I'll come down and do some proclamations, and invite my fellow council members to come to the well if they so choose.
First, we'll invite Kenesha Tucker with Madison Hidden Figures for the Juneteenth proclamation. And any other, if you have any other representatives from Hidden Figures or others that you'd like to join, by all means. Welcome. Whereas on June 19, 1865, 2.5 years after President Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, Union soldiers, led by General Gordon Granger, arrived in Galveston, Texas, with news that the Civil War was over and that the enslaved people were now free. And whereas, with the origin in Texas in 1866, Juneteenth is the oldest nationally celebrated commemoration of the ending of slavery in the United States. Since then, Juneteenth has been celebrated in communities across the United States, proving an opportunity to mark the emancipation of enslaved people. And whereas Juneteenth continues to be the most recognized African-American holiday observance, also known as Emancipation Day, Emancipation Celebration, Freedom Day, and June. And whereas Juneteenth symbolizes for many African Americans what the 4th of July does for all Americans: liberty, freedom, and justice for all. And whereas Juneteenth is a day for us to reflect on the suffering caused by slavery and commit to being allies of our African American friends, families, and neighbors. Whereas Juneteenth commemorates the strength and resolve of African Americans throughout our history and serves as an opportunity to celebrate the rich and numerous contributions of African Americans. And whereas Juneteenth is an opportunity for Madison residents of all races, nationalities, and religions to acknowledge the painful history and lasting systemic impact of slavery, racial injustice in the United States. Now, therefore, I, Eric P. Range, on behalf of Mayor Connolly and the governing body, do hereby recognize Wednesday, June 19, 2024, as Juneteenth to acknowledge the historical significance of this day and recommit to working towards dismantling of institutionalized racism.
Hi, good night, everybody. A lot of what I wrote down to say is going to echo exactly what Councilman Range just said. Good night. Mayor's not here. I thought he was going to be here. Mayor, council members, and Madison citizens, I'm honored to be here again. I think it was just about a year I was here for Black History Month and received that proclamation. I'm grateful. On that night, I asked for a pause, and I'm grateful that the mayor is pausing and asking citizens to pause and to commemorate Juneteenth, a holiday celebrated mainly by Black Americans to recall the ending of slavery in the United States since 1866. Juneteenth became a national holiday when President Biden signed the bipartisan legislation in 2021. Like many national holidays, it is a day marked with affliction, yet still ignites us to have the desire to be attentive and imaginative enough to not have the trauma in our history repeat itself. In his Juneteenth proclamation in 2022, President Biden shared a quote from Representative Elijah Cummings that states, "Our children are the living messengers we send into the future we will never see." He encourages us to work together to build a country where America's foundational promises and ideals ring true for every child and every family. I stand here in solidarity with families from Madison and their children, petitioning for Madison citizens to personally answer the call, because the necessity for that fight does not escape Madison. we ask that in all the corners and spaces where you reside, serve, dine, worship, and where our children learn, that you advocate for Madison to be a space that is free from bias, racism, and hateful speech. Thank you.
And now I would invite Valentina Peluso from the Madison High School's Gender and Sexuality Alliance Club, and if you have any other members. That's okay. Totally okay to be just you. All right. Whereas our nation was founded on the principle of equal rights for all people, and some of the most inspiring moments in our history have arisen from the various civil rights movements that have brought one group after another from the margins and into the mainstream of American society. And whereas in the movement toward equal rights for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer people, an historic turning point occurred on June 28, 1969 in New York City with the onset of the Stonewall riots. During these riots, LGBTQ citizens rose up and fought against discriminatory criminal laws that have been declared and have since been declared unconstitutional. And whereas LGBTQ individuals and their allies have an immeasurable impact on the cultural, civic, and economic success of our country. And whereas the Borough of Madison is committed to supporting visibility, dignity, and equality for LGBTQ people in our diverse community. And whereas, while society at large increasingly supports LGBT equality, it is essential to acknowledge that the need for education and awareness remains vital. And whereas celebrating Pride Month brings awareness and provides support and advocacy for Madison's LGBTQ community, and it is an opportunity to take action and engage in dialogue to strengthen alliances, build acceptance, and advance equal rights. And whereas it is imperative that young people in our community, regardless of sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression, feel valued, safe, empowered, and supported by their peers and community leaders. Now, therefore, I, Eric P. Range, on behalf of Mayor Conley and the governing body, do hereby proclaim the month of June 2024 as Pride Month in the Borough of Madison in support of the LGBTQ community and to recognize all LGBTQ residents whose influential and long-lasting contributions to our neighborhoods make Madison a vibrant community to which to live, work, and visit.
This is such a beautiful show of support toward our local LGBTQ community, and I would like to thank Madison for its outspoken and continuous support year after year towards our local LGBTQ community. I would also like to shout out my other co-presidents who couldn't be here today because they are at the baccalaureate. Thank you, and happy Pride Month, everyone.
Thank you.
In my zeal to greet the public, I overlooked approval of the minutes. So do we have a motion for the executive minutes of April 22, 2024?
So moved.
Second. That's not a roll call, right? That's okay. All in favor?
Aye.
When you're down there, you remember all this stuff. When you're up here, you forget which one's the which here. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes, the regular minutes of April 22, 2024?
So moved.
Second. Comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion for the executive minutes of May 13th, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And lastly, the regular minutes of May 13th, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Reports from committees. We'll start with public safety tonight. And so from the police department, on Wednesday, June 5th, Chief Misha and Mayor Conley, along with the police department command staff, attended the Essex County Basic Police Academy graduation at the Cathedral Basilica of the Sacred Heart in Newark. Patrolman Thomas T.J. Nieder, badge 169, and Santiago Rendon, badge number 170, were among the 69 recruits that graduated following 22 weeks of basic training. Mayor Conley was in attendance, and along with Chief Misha, presented Nieder and Rendon their certificates. Last week, Patrolman Brandon Lake, badge number 171, completed his waiver training at the Morris County Public Safety Training Academy. Lake has already been in his field training and is expected to complete that field training shortly. This past Friday, June 7th, members of the Madison Police Department joined surrounding towns of East Hanover, Hanover Township, Livingston, Florham Park, to once again run the 41st anniversary of the Law Enforcement Torch Run, Route 1A. The Special Olympics of New Jersey Torch Run is on the move with law enforcement officers as they carry the flame of hope through over 26 routes totaling 750 miles throughout the state of New Jersey. The Torch Run raises funds and awareness for Special Olympics in New Jersey, and collectively, Madison and our law enforcement partners have raised over $16,000 this year. Noted this last time, but it's worth repeating that the Madison Police Department is proud to once again partner with DeFalco's Towing and McCool's Ice Cream to promote school-age children wearing helmets while riding a bicycle. Madison police officers will be on patrol looking for children who make the right choice of wearing a helmet while riding a bicycle, and if observed, they will be issued a reward ticket for one free junior soft serve ice cream with one topping at McCool's. Thanks to our partners, the Remfer family, DeFalco's Towing, Madison Police Community Service Bureau, and McCool's Ice Cream for making this possible. And lastly, from the police department tonight, the Madison Police Department has instituted a crime prevention unit following the training of 6 officers. This program is now active, and residents can make a request to have members of the crime prevention unit come to their home and make security assessments. The unit will also provide recommendations to further secure your homes. There will be more to come on this program in the next several weeks. However, a new page is located on RoseNet, and it has been developed to provide residents with crime prevention information and to be able to register for a security assessment. From the fire department tonight, for the month of May, the fire department responded to a total of 180 calls, including 73 fire calls, 107 EMS calls, where 94 people were transported to the hospital. The fire department and EMS division also responded to 7 motor vehicle accidents. On May 1st, firefighters removed a person that was stuck in an elevator on Community Place. On May 22nd, firefighters responded to an oven fire on Niles Avenue. On May 27th, firefighters responded to a kitchen fire in a restaurant on Main Street. On May 29th, firefighters responded to Bedford Court for a condo that had been struck by lightning. Fortunately, damage was limited to several of their appliances. On the 31st, firefighters responded to a barbecue grill on fire on Valley Road, and I'm assuming that's not in the good way. On June 5th, the fire department was requested to Borough for a second alarm fire at a restaurant on Main Street, where workers had accidentally started the roof on fire. And on a lighter note, Chief Wickman has been in contact with the Honolulu Fire Department in Hawaii after they contacted him after they came across photos of our confined space trench rescue trailer that Madison firefighters had fabricated 100% in-house. Honolulu was so impressed with what they saw and got more information that soon they will be building 2 trailers like the ones we have in Madison. And finally tonight from the joint court, just a note on cases from May 2023 versus May 2024. There had been an increase overall in year-to-date or year-to-year cases of 20%, but this is on par with other participating communities in the joint court who have also seen a similar increase. And some of that is just a function of kind of things that are happening in the state and processing backlogs, believe it or not, from COVID pandemic era, where they're finally getting some of the backlog through 2, 3, 4 years later. So that's all from the joint court. Finance and Borough Clerk, Councilwoman Ehrlich.
Thank you. The audit committee met on Monday, June 3rd. The only audit comment in the report was one that will be familiar to those of us who have learned about the audit process before. This is the comment about the segregation of duties. It's a repeat comment from year to year, and many smaller towns have this issue, which is caused when a department collects payments and issues permits or other documents for residents. The appropriate practice would be for the customer to go to the department, get an invoice, go to a central payment window elsewhere and make a payment, and then take the receipt from the payment window back to the department issuing the permit so they can pick up their paperwork. But given the decentralized setup of the borough with departments on different floors and different buildings, it has been determined that it would be too costly to resolve this minor issue, not to mention inconvenient and somewhat demanding for our residents and customers. The committee also discussed a new accounting rule called GASB 96. This is a state rule which requires the borough to list all subscription contracts that are longer than 1 year. An example of a subscription would be our utility billing software or the software the borough uses to issue building permits. The audit will be finalized in the coming weeks, and the results will be discussed at an upcoming council meeting. Special thanks to all the volunteers on the audit committee for their time, their excellent comments, and the insights they shared. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Public Works and Engineering, Councilman Landrigan.
Thank you. From the Department of Public Works, cones and barricades were distributed at various locations in preparation for and then cleaned up after the Memorial Day Parade. Various issues related to a recent power outage were addressed. The Parks Department has been working on the recreation fields so they are playable for all sports teams. And finally, the Mechanical Services Group installed the new radar board along with the Police Department on Ridgedale Avenue at Central Avenue. Thank you.
Thank you. Utilities, Councilman Harold Pudis. And turn on your microphone.
Thank you, Councilman Interim Mayor Range. The Water Department, from the Water Department. The Water Department continues to check wells daily, complete markouts, and respond to resident calls. Summer help has started. They will begin painting hydrants this week. It must be a huge task. I don't even know how many hydrants we have in the borough. The water meter initiative continues since last meeting. 25 meters have been changed. I don't know if we started using the new company yet. Mr. Burnett? We start? Yeah, in 2 weeks. Okay. Digging was completed at Valley View Road at Tracy Lane to repair a leak on June 7th. The work at Well B continues. We're getting close to stabilizing that well and being able to turn it on. Valve turning has begun, with over 200 valves in town being turned so far. From the electric utility, the power outage on 6/1/2024 lasted about 4 hours. Kudos to our staff to have that resolved so quickly. The department is working closely with Asblunt Engineering and Verizon to repair the pilot wire between substations to ensure another outage does not occur. Cook Avenue parking lot project is close to starting. The electric utility will be very involved with that project. The project at 64 Park Avenue is 90% complete. The lampposts at 14 Lincoln Place were reinstalled, nearing the end of that project. Hooray. The relocation of the transformer at the Senior Housing Center is getting underway. Line clearing continues in the Knollwood section of town now. The department continues to respond to resident calls and markouts, as well as checking the substations daily. I would like to say something for 2 seconds about the Recreation and Activity Committee. If it's okay, we just had a meeting last week, very short. Let me just plug my computer. So, this week will be the final week of our spring sports schedule, and we will be transitioning into summer programming starting on Monday, June 17th. For information on summer programming, residents, please view the Programs and Information tab via the Recreation Department page on RoseNet. On Saturday, June 22nd and June 23rd, we will once again host the Morris Elite Cup Youth Soccer Tournament at both MRC fields. Games will take place throughout the day on both days. And I'm happy to report that so far in 2024, we collected $52,338 in rental fees. No, that was from 2023. No, that's 2024. And this tournament accounts for approximately $6,500 of that total. Thank you.
Community Affairs, Councilwoman Hyan.
Thank you, Council President. From the Downtown Development Commission, the Madison Farm and Artisan Market has kicked off and is extremely successful. It's every Saturday through December 14th, and it's in the Prospect Street lot between 9 and 2, and it is a great example of Madison community at its best. Bottle Hill Day will be on October 5th. Applications and sponsorships just went online today. The next DDC meeting will be held July 18th at 7:15 and is open to the public. Chamber of Commerce, the annual awards dinner is June 11th, tomorrow at 6 p.m. at the Madison Hotel. The Madison Community Arts Center continues to have a full schedule. Open mic night, June 12th at 7:30, and there are special Pride Month activities, the first one being June 15th at 8 p.m. called Just Say Gay, the Stand-Up Comedian. So that should be fun. And then lastly, the Rotary is sponsoring a shredded event and a repair cafe on June 16th. So that's coming up on Saturday. It will be a very busy day. It's at the ambulance court, and the farm and artisan market will be going on too. But bring your good things so that you don't have to throw them away. Save them from the landfill, and there will be many volunteers. Thanks.
Thank you. And Health, Councilman Forte.
Thank you, Council President Range. From the Health Department, those 19 and over who are non-insured or underinsured can now receive vaccines free of charge in the Madison Health Department at Hartley Dodge Memorial. Appointment information can be found at www.westfieldnj.gov/health. Madison residents are encouraged to take the Morris County Health Needs Assessment, which will also provide valuable local data to Madison Board of Health. The survey only takes about 10 minutes and can be found at morriscountyhealth.com. June is Men's Health Awareness Month. The Health Department would like to remind male residents it's important for a man to listen to your body and be sure to get regular checkups. Even if you don't feel sick, it's important to see your doctor regularly and schedule annual exams. We are anticipating a summer filled with many mosquitoes. Residents should fight the bite by wearing an EPA-registered insect repellent when outdoors and by inspecting their home for areas where water can pool, as West Nile virus has now become an endemic in New Jersey. Thank you.
Thank you. Any communications or petitions?
None received, Mr. President.
Up next is our first invitation for public comment. During this period, you can ask questions and make comments on any of our discussion items on the agenda or resolutions that I will share with you in a moment. There will be another invitation for discussion later in the meeting where you can comment on any subject. So the resolutions you may comment on are Resolution 176, Resolution of the Borough of Madison ratifying salary increase to full-time confidential employees excluded from union participation. Resolution 177, a resolution of the Borough of Madison setting salaries for full-time, non-union personnel. Resolution 178, renewing liquor licenses in the Borough of Madison for the 2024-2025 license term. Resolution 179, amending Resolution 266-2023, authorizing the execution of a $1 million grant agreement between the Borough of Madison and Martin Heller for the renovation and preservation of the former Masonic Lodge. Resolution 180, resolution of the Borough of Madison authorizing a change order request from Denskill LLC in the amount of $187,879 for the public, for the Madison Public Library interior renovations construction project. Resolution 181, appointing part-time per diem emergency medical technician to the Madison Fire Department. Resolution 182, authorizing the execution of a courtesy parking agreement with the Madison Memorial Home for the parking spaces at the Heller Center. Resolution 183, a resolution of the Borough of Madison appointing Sarah Murphy to the position of Administrative Secretary for Land Use Boards. Resolution 184, appointing Janet Wagstaff to the position of Administrative Secretary for the Historic Preservation Commission and Secretary of the Board of Health. And Resolution 185, accepting the irrevocable retirement of the evening custodian effective September 1st, 2024. If you would like to comment on those or our agenda discussion, which will be getting an update from Chief Wickman on the Madison EMS services. So if anyone would like to comment on any of those topics, seeing none, I close this portion of the meeting. Chief, come on up.
Good evening. I feel like I'm becoming a regular. And for the record, I did volunteer to go to Honolulu and assist with the trailer build, and I was denied.
For the record, there's no money in the budget for that, Council President.
I tried. I'm going to here just give you a quick update on how the EMS division is kind of started and it's going. We started on April 6th. We literally just kind of turned it on. It took months of this getting us all up and running, and once we finally literally turned the key, we got our 21 per diems ready to go. It took a while to kind of get that started because when we did say go, they had, their schedule was already a month out. So we had to kind of fill holes until we kind of got to the next few months where they were able to be more available. So on average, we're covering 18 of the 24 shifts during the week. So there's only a few days where the existing ambulance corps members are still riding. It's literally Thursday night, Friday night, and Sunday night. All the other days are being covered by a combination of firefighters and our new per diems. We've also covered several events where we couldn't get any volunteers to cover, like the Platypus lacrosse tournament at the high school, which is a massive 2-day event. We've gone to a few graduation ceremonies locally, and also a half marathon that we've covered with a combination of other towns. Next slide. January, this is where it kind of gets interesting to look at the numbers, is between January 1 and April 6th, there was 155 medical calls that were taken care of by outside agencies, which means when someone dialed 911 in Madison, it wasn't a Madison ambulance that was taking them. It was Florham Park, Chatham, Atlantic Ambulance, and mainly it was Florham Park that was covering it. A big thanks to those towns for covering us, but once we turned it on April 7th, it went down to, we only missed 15 calls where a Madison ambulance didn't provide service, only because we were busy. We were already on a call. And I'm very proud of our firefighters. You always get nervous introducing something new. I mean, firefighters don't generally complain too much. I mean, the old joke is you hand them a bag of gold, they complain about the weight. Well, with this, I kind of got nervous, but we've had several instances in town where the per diem ambulance goes out and another emergency comes in, and 2 firefighters on duty run across the street, grab a second ambulance, and we've been able to cover multiple EMS calls at once. I knew we'd be able to do that, but I didn't know we were going to be able to do that so quickly. And so, huge thank you to them for providing that and being able to get it done. So yeah, we've since April 7th to Friday, or present day, we've responded to 147 EMS calls. That's all been handled by the new service. January 1st to April 6th, we did have 32 calls where a firefighter driver would assist an existing volunteer member. They would both staff an ambulance. That happens where you just can't get two volunteer EMTs, and only one's available. Well, we'll provide help where we can, especially if we can't get a per diem. Like, again, I feel like every council member, I keep adding more per diems. We started with about 14, but we realized that it's hard to get, they're in such high demand that we're competing against other towns. And from the feedback I'm getting from them, they're all very happy to be working here, and they keep asking me for more hours. So it must be going pretty good, because we're up to 21. I don't think we're gonna need any more for a while, because the biggest problem we're having was Saturday and Saturday night is who wants to work on Saturday and Saturday night. But thankfully, we've also had a few college volunteers come home, and we're plugging them in where we can. Like, hey, you want a shift? Here's Saturday night. And then if we did have per diem scheduled, and then 2 college kids showed up, we're like, hey, staff a second ambulance. Like, we haven't had 2 ambulances on available in remember, a long time. So it's been a tremendous relief. I've been sleeping a lot better knowing that someone calls 911 and an ambulance is coming. We've gotten some great feedback from the per diems. Again, most of the per diems, they're either full-time firefighters in Clifton or Patterson or North Plainfield. We've got several nursing students, and we have a lot of EMTs per diems that work in several towns. And they've come up with some great ideas that we weren't doing EMS on a full-time transport as we weren't doing it, the ambulance corps was, but the ideas that they've come up with and modernizing our technology has been, it's like, I'm like, bring me your ideas. I want to hear your ideas. And the stuff that we've gotten is, with this particular board right here is called a scoop board, which was if somebody had a broken hip, this thing would come apart. You're able to scoop them up. This replaced something that was over 50 years old that was on the ambulances, and you would use it. It was terrifying. It would make horrible creaking noises, and even though it was strong, it was just simple things like that. I mean, that even floats. So God forbid there's an injury in a pool, you can get this underneath somebody in a pool and lift them up much easier, where we've had backboards before, but this does so many things. And again, bags and stuff like this, just great ideas that we've had, that they've had, that we've ran with, and it's been tremendous. Again, thank you for the support, and helping with the budget for this, for us to be able to update the ambulances and get this equipment that we needed. So pretty much things are running pretty smooth. Again, we're in our second or third month, so I know it's kind of still growing, and it changes daily, weekly, and monthly, and I'm sure it's going to keep changing. But for the most part, we're moving right along. So any questions?
Questions from the council?
Yes, sir.
Tom?
And I'm just asking on the financial side, did we start our soft billing yet?
We have, and we started with the billing, with our billing company, and I've actually, the clearinghouse and all the organizations that do all the billing, they've been setting everything up since April 6th. And they said, again, it's like starting a big wheel, and once the wheel gets started, the money doesn't come in for a couple of months, because they're still setting up Medicare, Medicaid, and setting up an established relationship with all the insurance companies.
Okay. Thanks, Chief.
I had to verify my employment several times with them. And, so far, so good.
John?
So not a question, but more a comment. I think, number one, I think we should all be proud of what's happened here in terms of the council supporting this, and you embracing it and wanting to do it and getting it to where it is. I think it's really phenomenal. And I would just, for the public, I would just say, state law doesn't mandate that we do this. This is something that we choose to do because we believe in the health, safety, and well-being of our residents and the people that come through Madison on a daily basis, and we take that commitment to that very seriously. And it's one of the most basic things we can do, and I love the fact that we've stepped it up and are doing better. The other comment that I would just make is you're talking about the feedback that you're getting from the per diems. And I don't think, my experience in business tells me that you don't get feedback unless you're a good leader and people are willing to step forward and give you the feedback. So thank you for your leadership on the fire department. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. We wanted to join everything as one team, and so that's why we accepted them in, and we wanted them in. I wanted everyone to work completely together. And I love hearing, one of the greatest compliments I've heard so far is they're like, this town isn't real. They're like, everything is like, I can't believe you walk next door and you see the police chief. You walk over to town hall and you see, the administration and anybody. They said it's unbelievable. And then when they started to figure out that Madison had its own electric utility, they're mind blown. Thank you very much. It took a lot of help, and I got a lot of help from the administration, all of you, and the firefighters. It's been great.
Rachel?
This is just to echo what Councilman Forte said, but Chief, you've done something that hasn't been done before here in Madison, and it's extraordinary. I knew it was a big lift. It was something that everyone had to learn as they went, and as John said, the leadership you provided to encourage people to take that leap, do something new, and do it as best they could is extraordinary. So I'm really proud of our town. I can't imagine this happens very often in New Jersey, where municipalities are under so much strain that they can take on a new responsibility like this for people's health and well-being. And I'm just so pleased at the new level of professionalism and responsiveness that we're offering, and that's thanks to your leadership, your department, and the shared vision of the governing body, the administration, and all of our emergency responders. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Many towns are looking at line items they can cross off, not taking on new responsibilities. So again, Chief, thank you for your incredible leadership over the course of, I don't know, it's been 18 months at least now, but almost 2 years I think we've been batting this around.
Yeah, right. This has been a long time. Finally, I think you said at one time to rip the Band-Aid off, let's just get this done.
Yeah. So thank you for your leadership, and I think the other thing that we'll be discussing moving forward, I think there's we took on the possession of the one ambulance, and that's got some outstanding debt, so I think there's some dollars there that you need to complete that transaction, right?
Yes, to complete the purchase of that, and then we're looking in the future for grants to replace another ambulance down the road. We have a couple of strong leads, but the ambulances have never been in better shape because there's hands on them every day, so it's taking good care of the equipment.
Okay. Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
This evening we have no ordinances for hearing. So at this time I'd invite members of the public who want to comment on any topic. They may do so. We just ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes. We will give you a 1-minute grace. So put your name on the clipboard there and take it away.
Good evening, Judy Kroll, 27 Laurel Way. I'm here representing Friends of the Forest this evening, and I have just some information to share that's kind of fun and interesting tonight about things that are happening in the forest. First of all, I'll start with just some of the things that are blooming there that are really beautiful to see. There's a wild Carolina rose that's blooming in the forest. It's a beautiful native shrub. It has a little pink flower that sort of looks like a wild rose versus a domesticated rose. And that plant supports several bee species, and then in the fall, when the flower dries up, the seeds are eaten by the birds. Also, Virginia sweetspire is one of the favorites of the bees. Those are blooming on the Hepburn Woods side of the forest. Jewelweed, which is a native shrub that virtually disappeared from the forest because of deer and invasive plants, but reappeared on its own after the deer fencing went in 2008, and it is now prolific in the forest. It's going to bloom probably in the next week and a half. It's a beautiful little golden flower, and it's very attractive to hummingbirds and butterflies. Also, toads and frogs are very active in the forest right now. It's mating season for green frogs and bullfrogs and American toads are transforming from their little tadpole lives in the ponds, and they're moving into the forest as they become terrestrial critters for their adult lives. So that's exciting as well. So it's a good time to walk in the forest. There's a lot to see there, and I'm really happy to announce that Friends of Drew Forest is going to be offering group tours again. We are very happy that Dr. Link of the university and her staff have helped us to coordinate registration and everything that we need to do to be able to provide tours. So there'll be guided tours available. If anyone is interested, you can go to our website and just click on visit, and you can sign up for a group tour. Also, just outside of the Zuck fence, there is an amphibian research project underway right now, and it's including Drew biology students. They are studying the impact of an invasive fungus that infects frogs. And this is a very special learning opportunity for the students because they are able to observe the animals in their natural ecosystem, which is very rare. Usually you have to study this kind of thing in a lab, but the forest provides a living lab for them. And next month, 12 students from the 2024 Governor's School Program in the Sciences, which is consists of the top 2 students in almost every high school in New Jersey. They come onto the Drew campus for a 3-week program, and 12 of those students will be studying the amphibians that are outside right now in the Zuck Arboretum area. So again, it's an illustration of how broad the benefits of the forest are, not just for us here in Madison, but people in Morris County and really throughout the entire state. So that's what I wanted to share with you tonight, and again, thank you all for your support of the efforts to preserve the forest.
Thank you, Judy. Anyone else wishing to be heard? Seeing none, I close. Oh, yeah.
Thank you. My name is Jonathan Yosting. I live on 33 South Street. I work with the YMCA. I volunteer soccer coach. And I volunteer at St. Hubert's with foster dogs. And I just spoke to the chief on the way out, and you guys commended him as being a good leader and showing some good initiative. And from our brief conversation, he said, appreciate your support with approval to have a facility dog on a trial basis there. We just had Mental Health Awareness Week, but I think for our, I'm also an Army brat, so I come from an Army background and first responder, so I can appreciate the value that, the therapeutic value, the stress relieving value, the healing value of having a non-verbal way to communicate and connect with another being. So that'd be cool if you guys could help support that and make that happen, or at least let him know that he has your approval to do a trial with a animal from St. Hubert. So we'd be helping the first responders, and we'd also be helping an animal that needs a place to live outside of the shelter. The thing I came here about was to talk about dangerous crossing situations that we created in our town on Park Avenue. I live on South Street, so that's the part that I'm talking about. I think there's 3 crossings there now where there's a dropped curb. Would indicate to somebody with visual impairments like, hey, this is a safe place to cross. They're using the cane. But yet there's no sign saying that it's a crossing, and there's no markings on the street. There was a sign in the middle of the street at one time that said crossings, but when they did the milling work, I have from the authority of a county sheriff vehicle that was sitting there at the intersection watching him do the work, said, hey, what happened to the sign that was in the middle here letting people know, this is a crossing? And he said, oh, Madison PD came and took that away. So I would like to suggest, another suggestion would that we get 3 or 4 of those signs and put them in the middle of the road. We have them other places. We certainly could have them right there. Even if I understand bureaucracy or whatever, that some of the stripes are going to be painted by the county and some of them we're going to paint, but instead of like somebody getting hurt because we're waiting for the county to do the right thing or whatever the politics are, let's just get some $200 signs that you can order, and we probably already have different places, and put them there in the meanwhile. And then communication. I was hoping the mayor would be here today. I emailed him, I haven't heard back. So I was just curious about the best way to, for accessibility's sake, not everyone has the ability to come up these stairs and be here in a meeting. It'd be great if they could use electronic communication to communicate with the leadership of the town. In my experience, that's been difficult. I had an incident, and then, yeah, so maybe the comment can be check your email.
1 minute. Yeah. 1 minute.
1 minute left. Okay. Madison Access, quickly, for people with disabilities. I know we had something in place that was kind of geared for senior citizens. I'm looking at the website from the minutes of the meetings, and it looks like there's not any recent activity with the Madison Access project, yet we still have stickers on a lot of the businesses. I reached out to the Chamber of Commerce. I didn't get a call back, but I had a dispute at Madison Bagel where I was discriminated against for having a service animal there. And I asked for the Madison PD's help. They came out. They were equally ignorant of the law, of the ADA law. And they handed me a business card to email them. I emailed them. The email bounced. I emailed communication saying, hey, email bounced. Can you set up? I understand she had her name changed, her maiden name. She still has a bogus business card. It's hard to communicate with them. Can you set up a forwarding so that her old email goes to her new email? Like, no response. Anyway, thanks for your time.
Thank you. We'll cover some of those. So you are spot on in the fact that Park Avenue is a county road. So we will certainly, Jim, if we could follow up with the county on that, but we can also follow up locally with Chief Misha and the Traffic Safety Division to see what else we might be able to do to alleviate some of those. As far as communicating with the mayor or any of us, we do all have email addresses, and normally we are pretty good at returning those. We are part-time volunteers, so sometimes things do fall through the cracks. Obviously, that is not the case for our full-time professionals, but you can also email clerk@rosenet.org, and that will go to Liz, and she can pass it along to the appropriate authority as well. Okay. And as far as in animals for the fire department, we'll follow up with Chief on that too. All right. Anyone else wishing to be heard at this time? Seeing none, I close this portion of the meeting. And we move on to introduction of ordinances. Will the clerk read the statement?
Ordinance is scheduled for first reading, have a hearing date set for July 8th, 2024. All will be posted, all will be published in the Madison Eagle, posted on the bulletin board, and made available to members of the public requesting copies.
I call up these ordinances for first reading and ask the clerk to read ordinances by title. Ordinance 19-2024.
Ordinance of the Borough of Madison amending Ordinance 56-2023, which appropriated $125,000 from the Municipal Open Space Recreation and Historic Preservation Trust Fund regarding the Madison Masonic Lodge 170 Main Street.
Mayor, I move ordinance 19-2024.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Ehrlich?
Yes.
Mr. Landrigan?
Yes.
Mr. Range?
Yes.
Mr. Harlan Pudis?
Yes.
Ms. Monahan?
Yes.
Mr. Forte?
Yes.
Ordinance 20-2024.
Ordinance of the Borough of Madison appropriating $105,000 from the General Capital Improvement Fund for the purchase of a 2022 Horton ambulance.
Mayor, I move ordinance 20-2024.
Second.
Any discussion? As alluded to, this is to basically pay off the existing debt for the ambulance that we acquired as part of the transaction with the Madison Volunteer Ambulance Corps, rather than having a monthly payment. Any other further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Ehrlich?
Yes.
Mr. Landrigan?
Yes.
Mr. Range?
Yes.
Mr. Harlan Pudis?
Yes.
Ms. Monahan?
Yes.
Mr. Forte?
Yes.
Next up is the consent agenda. Will the clerk please read the statement?
Consent agenda resolutions will be enacted with a single motion. Any resolution requiring expenditure is supported by a certification of availability of funds. Any resolution requiring discussion will be removed from the consent agenda. All resolutions will be reflected in full in the minutes.
I move consent agenda R-176, 2024 through R-185-2024.
Second.
Any discussion or any that need to be pulled?
Oh, okay. All set then?
Okay. Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Ehrlich?
Yes.
Mr. Landrigan?
Yes.
Mr. Range?
Yes.
Mr. Harlan-Pudis?
Yes, except I recuse myself from Resolution 178, 2024.
Ms. Monahan?
Yes.
And Mr. Forte?
Yes.
Okay, there is no unfinished business. Do I have a motion to approve the vouchers? Oh, yeah,
Why don't I read those first?
read those vouchers first, and then we can approve them.
Yeah, why not? From the current fund, $151,672.34. From the general capital fund, $9,096.35. From the electric operating fund, $97,722.26. From the electric capital fund, $31,768.20. From the water operating fund, $3,223.74. From the trust, $1,801.47. The total is $295,284.36.
I move the approval of the vouchers.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
There is no new business. Mr. Forte.
Mr. President, I move to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.